I shot pictures and I was having so much fun, but I literally had no idea what I was doing. Like shutter speed wise, I just didn't know. And all my pictures, I kept looking, I was like, they don't look very like crisp. And so Chris podcast. Is that the name of it?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. We are super excited today because we are talking about business. So Chris and I work in the wedding industry I'm a wedding photographer, and Chris recently started doing wedding videos. And so we just wanted to create a podcast to talk about our journey of how I originally got involved with doing photography and in the wedding industry, and then how now Chris has joined me, and yeah, the fun and adventures that's been.
Yeah.
So we thought it would be fun to create a podcast just talking about our journey of how I even started photography, how I got into the wedding industry, and then now how Chris has joined the team.
Yeah. I can start with a little backstory.
Okay.
So, because you'll probably be talking a lot. When did you start? 2 years? 3 years ago?
3 years ago this summer. It's like 2.5.
Okay. So, when we got married, which is 3 years ago, December, Christin was working at a fundraising company in elementary schools, or she would go in every 2 weeks and fundraise. And that past December, I think, or maybe her birthday, she got a camera, right? Was it that past?
For like, it was like a college graduation gift for my parents.
So maybe it was like a year and a half, or 2 years before.
Yeah.
Maybe a year and a half.
Yeah.
So she got a Canon Rebel T6i.
Great camera for beginners, by the way.
Great camera. Such a great camera. And then you started playing around with it, and when I was working for a startup at the time, really small company, we were thinking about moving, and we were possibly going to get acquired and move to Boston, and then possibly New York. And then Christin ended up leaving her job, and so we were in this phase of kind of just waiting for a couple months or whatever. Yeah, and so you can
yeah.
from there.
So, yeah, it was summer 2017. I was doing the math in my head.
Okay.
Yeah, so I quit my job, and I remember being like, I was like, it was weird, because it was like the first time in my life I wasn't doing a job or school. And so I was like, okay, like I don't know if I should like jump into another job.
Doing a job with kids.
Right. All my jobs.
That's all you did.
Yeah. Always around kids or like camp, or which is kids, but yeah. And so since we didn't know if we were going to be moving or what, Chris just simply said, he's like, why don't you just like do something that you like to do, like a hobby or something? And I was like, I don't have hobbies.
Except you kind of did, because you had started doing some photo stuff.
Right. I had taken pictures, so I was going to get to that. But I was like, I don't have hobbies. And then Chris was like, what about your camera? Like, you love taking pictures. And I had done pictures for like my sister and stuff like that and her kids.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh yeah. I was like having a crisis. In my head it was. Because I felt like I wasn't like contributing to like
that's true.
anything in the world. I wasn't.
But that was okay.
It was. But yeah, so I picked up my camera, and it was weird. I told one of my friends, Annalisa, shout out if you're watching.
Yeah,
you probably are.
Annalisa.
Big fan.
Come join us next episode.
Yes. She was like, hey, have you heard of this awesome organization called the Rising Tide Society? She was like, it's a local creative entrepreneur like meetup, and there's one in Austin. It's happening like this Tuesday. Do you want to go with me? And I was like, first of all, I was like, I'm not really a creative entrepreneur. I'm not a photographer yet. I literally just quit my job. And she's like, well, like, just come. Mainly, she needed a sidekick, so it was her first time going too. So I went with her. It was amazing, and they made us stand up, introduce ourselves, and say like what our business was. And I was like, crap, I do not have a business, or like what we do. And so I stood up and was just like, I'm Christin, and I'm a photographer. And it was just like, cool. And I briefly mentioned that I had just been starting out, but and then after that, I had several amazing ladies come up to me, and they were like, hey, like, we're always looking for like second shooters to help assist us with weddings. If you ever want to come, like, we like exchanged numbers and all this stuff. And I was like, what in the world? Like, I don't even, like, I have no idea what I'm doing. And these amazing humans were like, come shoot a wedding with me. And so, which I had always thought I would never do weddings because they were just too stressful, is what I heard.
I remember you coming, it might have been from that meeting, and you were like, you said something along the lines of, I could never do weddings because there's just too much at risk. Like, what if I lose the pictures? Like, how am I supposed to do a wedding? Like, that's the most important day for people.
Still all valid points. It's very important.
Yeah.
You could lose all the pictures by some weird circumstance. But I went and I second shot my first wedding with an amazing photographer named Shelly at, what is the venue called?
Addison Grove.
No. Oh my gosh, I cannot think of it.
You'll
I know it in my head. It's amazing. But and y'all, my like settings, especially in like low light situations.
So you're still shooting with the Rebel too?
I was shooting.
What lens were you shooting with?
The 50. Because I had my 50, like 1.4.
I love that lens.
With this lens right here.
Yeah.
It's an amazing lens, but it's also not always the best paired with a Rebel for like low light.
Yeah.
So for reception, I remember I shot pictures and I was having so much fun, but I literally had no idea what I was doing. Like shutter speed wise, I just didn't know. And all my pictures, I kept looking, I was like, they don't look very like crisp. And so I gave Shelly all my pictures at the end of the night. And the next day I had the nicest, kindest email in my inbox giving me the sweetest, like bullet point, like constructive criticism, being like, hey, like next time don't do your shutter speed below this. This is why it's causing the motion blur. Like just practical things that and then she was like, do you want a second shoot with me next weekend? And I was like, oh my gosh, this is the best thing ever. Like I literally.
Yeah, she is too
I know.
much.
I was like, I don't know if I would do that. But obviously I really feel like that happening was just like God being like, you got this. This is what you're supposed to do right now. And it was so sweet. So yeah, I started second shooting, and that was like really fun. And then you quickly realize like, crap, like you have to have like nice gear to shoot weddings.
Yeah.
So we upgraded a few things, and so every time I got money, it was going towards that. And then that October, I shot my first ever wedding as the main photographer.
What was her name?
Nulafar.
Yeah.
It was a
pretty wedding.
It was really pretty.
Yeah.
She was this girl that I met freshman year of college. I don't think we ever saw each other ever again, but we were connected on Instagram. She was following my photography page, reached out, and I was like, girl, I've never done a wedding. And she was like, I trust you. You'll do amazing. And I was like, okay.
You did, though.
I did.
Was awesome.
I know. I did. I think I did a really good job. And I had an amazing second photographer with me just to make sure. So second shooting was a big thing. If you are interested in even getting into photography and weddings, that's the first thing I would like highly recommend is like second shoot, even if you're not getting paid anything, even if you have to rent gear, like just getting exposed to the pace of the day. And like, is that kind of stress fun to you, or are you coming under the stress and stressing out all day?
Yeah.
And for me, I feel like I kind of came alive, and I liked the fast paced, like organized chaos of the day.
Yeah.
It's like summer camp.
Yeah, I like to always tell people that wedding photographers are like the word just escaped my mind. Basically like a day of therapist, or like even just like whenever you do photos. Because like they do a lot of prompts that's like, all right, like grab your spouse and like sway him across, and it's just like fun stuff, but the pictures look amazing. Yeah, but you're like actually having them engage with each other, like tell the person like 3 things you love about them, and they, you know, have the biggest smiles, or like they start crying or something.
Yeah, because
And it's
sometimes
like,
they've never even said any of those things
yeah,
to each other.
that's what I'm saying.
It's so fun.
That's what y'all do. You're like coaches or
Yeah.
counselors, which is funny because like that's what you did like for so long, is, you know, you did camp,
Yeah.
and like you went to school for recreation administration, but you never knew it would play out like doing photographs, and it honestly, that's how it is.
Yeah.
Which is, it's fun.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's super fun.
How?
I was going to ask you a question.
Okay.
Well, I was going to say, when I started doing photography from my previous job in fundraising,
Yeah.
like how did you see like a change in like me from, other than seeing me
I
more?
mean, there was a pretty drastic change because that company is amazing.
Yeah, they are.
We won't name it, but there was a lot of stress on you. So you helped start the Austin branch, and there's just 2 of y'all for a year. So like a lot of weight was on your shoulders. Thankfully, y'all had a bunch of like amazing people higher up that were not in the same city, but that were helpful. But then like other higher people up came into Austin, who are amazing people, but there was just a lot of like tension and stress. And then on top of that, there was long work hours, like getting up. She always said she gets up at 4:30 every day for that job, and I'm like, no, you didn't.
Yeah.
But she got up.
You were sleeping.
You got up a lot.
Most mornings, I was leaving the house before 6 a.m.
I don't believe you. Okay, 6 a.m.
I was leaving before. I'm saying most mornings.
Yeah, but 6, that's fine, because a lot of times you're like, I left every day at 4:30.
A lot of days, though.
But regardless, you worked long hours.
Yeah.
Like if you were leaving at 5 or you were leaving at
so
6,
much
like
driving.
you're driving to Colleen or
San
Hutto or
Antonio.
wherever it was. Like you're driving a long time, and you're driving a big box truck, and with kids, and like kids are exhausting, but you had to be on this high energy, be hype man for 8 hours in school or however long it was. So you're stressed out and just exhausted. Like one time, Christin still does this, but this one time we were watching a movie, like we're having a nice date night in our condo, and we put the like blow up mattress in the living room, and we were watching some stupid movie. It was like some singing movie. Anyways, literally maybe 5 minutes into the movie, she started snoring so loud. Oh, I just die thinking about it, like so loud, and she doesn't do that, but it's just a good picture of like how exhausting it was. So coming into photography, it was like you're on your own schedule, like you were learning a lot, learning new things, and then, you know, you're hanging out with cool people, learning, and just adventuring out. Like there's no really stress to make money, there's no stress to like be the best or like have the best things. It was just like, hey, I'm doing this, it's fun, and I'm exploring it. I think even at that point it was like, I'm exploring this, but this isn't what I do. Like it's still kind of like a hobby, I guess.
Side gig.
Yeah. So there was a lot of change.
Yeah.
And it was really exciting, and I didn't have to. At one point during your old job, I had to be like, hey, we're not going to talk about your job because it's just stressing me out. And so we're like, hey, we're not going to talk about that right now.
Yeah.
But we didn't have to do that for photography. It was more like this is fun.
Fun,
and like,
exciting.
Look what this shutter speed does. This button on this camera. Wow. Like
or
if
like
you
I
wanted
booked
to,
another wedding. Like,
yeah. So that was really fun.
Yeah. So then I put myself up on Wedding Wire first to get, because I was like, I don't have any referrals, I have no portfolio, so I put myself on Wedding Wire and got some leads. Yeah, and I started booking weddings slowly but surely, and I was doing family sessions still on the side. I was doing pretty much anything that anyone would pay me. I did some like branding photo shoots.
Yeah, those are cool.
Yeah, which I still enjoy doing. Yeah, and then I realized I wanted to focus most of my attention on weddings and really build that side of my portfolio. Yeah, and so spent a lot of time and money getting the gear I needed to like continue to take my like work up to like the next levels and not have to rent stuff as much. And so, which is a process, but yeah, so that was like really fun, and it just kind of like kept growing. And since I started, I have gone through like 3 fall wedding seasons, and so every like year starting like in the fall, if that makes sense, I've done 3 of those. But like my weddings and like income and everything like that has like doubled, and so it's been cool to just see like doing something that I enjoy and that like just came really natural to me, like has grown very like organically. And yeah, it's taken hard work, and I've put a lot of time learning stuff, and for like the business side of things, the technical photography side of things, but overall I feel like it's come very just like naturally for me, the creative side and the personal side of weddings, which is really, I love the people interaction part. Yeah getting to hang out with the bride on her wedding day is pretty fun.
That is pretty fun. Let's talk about and having me come to second shoot with you.
Yeah,
so and like joining
through
that process of it.
So I got to shoot an amazing couple, Hannah and Marshall's wedding in Colorado. And so Chris and I were like, let's make a road trip out of it for sure. So we packed the dogs up. We drove up to Colorado. Still one of our favorite trips. It was so fun. The dogs did great in the car for like 13 hours. It was amazing.
Yeah, you also gave them sleepy.
We drugged them a little bit for everyone's benefit.
Sorry, dog lovers.
That or throw up all over our car. Anyway, so I was shooting the wedding, and then I was like, wait. And it was like a sweet little elopement, real low key. And then we went back to the Airbnb and they just hang out and ate pizza and like super low key.
It was a beautiful location.
Yeah.
In the mount, surrounded by mountains, by the lake.
It was so awesome.
It's like impossible to not get good shots out there.
Yeah. So I asked Chris, I was like, hey, do you want to just like come with me and use my extra camera body and lens and just like take pictures for fun? He was like, sure. I mean, he would have just stayed in the little cabin we were staying in, which you probably would have enjoyed. But, and so I asked the bride, I was like, is it okay if Chris comes and just like takes some extra shots? And she was like, of course. So that's the first time Chris ever second shot with me, which was really fun. And then I looked at the photos and I was like, wow, these are actually really good. Like he learned quick, because I told him like all the don't go below this shutter speed, all those like basic parameters. Well,
I mean, even before, like I would pick your camera up and shoot with it.
Yeah.
And it's like,
we had done some
learn f-stop, learn shutter speed. Like ISO. What's ISO, I'm not really sure, but make sure it doesn't look weird. Exactly. So like I knew some of the stuff.
The idea of it.
No, I've actually used it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. Whatever. Anyway. So then I started hiring Chris more often to second shoot with me.
But the point of this, you can see that from the idea of it to me being like I can actually use it, it took some time for you to like actually trust that I could get shots.
Yeah.
And actually like do a good job. And that, I don't know, I thought it was funny, but like makes sense because like she didn't want to have screwy pictures, you know?
Right.
And there's times I had screwy pictures, which is fine, but I didn't have some rebel all motion blur pictures.
I know. Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that was a cool learning experience.
Yeah, it was. And how to like give kind feedback and get on the same page with stuff too. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Or like her directing me, like, tell me where I need to be during the ceremony, or like, hey, you get the groom's shot or you don't. And then like during the middle of the ceremony, it's impossible to get the groom's face because like there's people that are 10 feet tall and there's like 1,000 people there. And it's like, hey, you have to get the groom's face because I can't. There's no way for me to run up there and get it if you're in the middle of the aisle. You know, like figuring out stuff like that I think is fun.
Yeah.
And
and then Chris started, so he second shot with me quite a few times, and then I went to an awesome photography business workshop last February, and I just had this idea brewing in my head of like rebranding the business to just reflect like Chris and I like working together more. And so I don't know, I was just like, why don't we just go by like Christin and Chris photography or like something like that. And so we like brainstormed a bunch of stuff, and we were like, you know what, let's just do Christin and Chris, because that kind of covers like Christin and Chris podcast, Christin and Chris photography. And now I'm really thankful for that too, because Chris has recently started doing videography. I think like last summer you did your first one, this past summer. Yeah,
Well, before that,
Zoe's wedding was the first, yeah. So whenever that was, but yeah, and so he started doing video. So what was your?
And that was a similar process to what you went through. Well, because I've always done like some like home video stuff. That's really fun for me. Just like with my iPhone or with a GoPro or whatever. And then I don't even remember how that process went, except that I wanted to do video, and then someone, I don't know if they reached out and asked if we did video or if they were willing to let me do it, even though I'd never done one or whatever.
I think we just asked her if they wanted a free wedding video, and they were like, yeah.
No, they actually gave us money.
Oh, they paid.
Yeah.
Thanks, Zoe and John.
There have been some that we've done for free.
Yeah.
But it's just videography was something I was looking to grow into and grow into more, and that was another me learning like how to shoot film and how to make wedding videos and edit and do different things, like shooting different shutter speeds and shooting 24 FPS, 60, and what camera do I use, and how do I do sound, and how do I do lighting, and it's like, goodness.
It's a lot of stuff.
A lot of stuff, but it's a lot of fun. And so now I've done like 8 or 9 weddings now.
Which is amazing.
I mean, they're not like people aren't paying $10,000 for a film yet. But I have liked it. I think they've turned out pretty well and really fun, and trying to find the style of shooting video as well as like work with Christin, because she doesn't want me to mess up her style. So yeah.
So now, and I feel like Chris has enjoyed that a lot more, doing video versus second shooting for me. So which is fun, because I also enjoy shooting with other people, because I learn a lot from other photographers that I get to shoot with, of like, because they do their own weddings too, and so it's like I get to learn from them, which is fun. But yeah, so now we are for 2020 we have, or I guess have 13 weddings booked officially, which is awesome. And we've just been talking about what it looks like to kind of like raise prices and take on less weddings for this year, and just as like stuff goes on, just like learning how to even just focus on the parts of the business that I love doing, and then outsourcing the rest, which has been fun to do. So
can we jump in or segue into, like, as a couple, if you haven't watched our marriage video yet, go watch it. It's pretty awesome. But like, so as a couple, we're married and we have dogs. We're, involved with, there's the dogs. Anyways, we're involved with other things. How do we separate like life, like between doing business together and like doing life together? Is there separation? Is there anything that like stands out to you that I don't know, that's helpful or that's been hard?
I don't know.
Well, I can name one. One thing that I think that's been hard for you, and I know you'll agree with this because we talked about it, is having me like come into like your thing, like wedding photography has been your thing, and now it's like I'm doing your thing with you. And even though we're called Christin and Chris, it's still like your thing. Like you still run the business every day. Like you still talk to the clients, and you know I'm starting to do that more with the video stuff now. But generally, that's how it's been. Yeah. So that's been a little bit difficult thing, and
it's definitely hard at first.
Yeah. Just like let your baby go a little bit, because it's got to grow and it's got to expand. But if you hold on to it too tight, it's just gonna, I don't know, stay the same.
Stay a baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's true. I mean, I feel like, I don't know. I feel like we don't like. It's not like we're always talking about business stuff or anything like that. Really, I feel like we talk about stuff, but then we just kind of, I don't know. I don't feel like there's a big boundary we have to set with that kind of stuff. I remember kind of at the beginning we would have like set aside time to like that where we had to like talk about stuff or like make game plans and stuff. I'm trying to remember that, but
I think we did that once or twice.
Yeah, because it was like if we don't, we're never going to talk about this, and we need to make decisions or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I feel like it's been really fun, and yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. I
didn't really have much to say about that.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Well, there's a lot of different segues we could go into it, but we'll definitely save it for another time. But let us know what, I don't know, what other details you would like us to talk about. Like, should we go into talking more about the financial side of the business, or working together and how we work together, or like even equipment, like how she went from a Rebel to a Mark IV, a Mark III, a Mark got 12 cameras on her back. I don't know, stuff like that. Like I find that helpful, but people that listen might not. So let us know, message us, comment, and
subscribe.
Yeah. Is that all?
Yeah, I guess so.
Cool. Well, thanks for listening.
Wonder says thank you too.
Wonder Junebug say hi. We'll see you later.
Have an amazing day.
Bye.
Bye.